Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm doing something a bit different today. It's Simple Homebrew, of course. I have a recipe I have to make. I've got a heap of grains that I bought from Keg King, and I want to use them. They've been sitting around for a little while. I need to get them done. I'm about to create a recipe using Brewfather, but I use a Grainfather. So with the Grainfather system, I need to transfer the Brewfather products or Brewfather recipe over to the Grainfather system. Hang on, just quickly make the picture a bit bigger so you can see. Now what I got is a heap of Maris Otter, and that's like I've got 6 kilos of Maris Otter or more. I've also got Atlas Latrobe, which is a wood smoked, red gum wood smoked grain. I've got a kilo of that, and I've got Vienna Schooner Voyager, which actually I think it's a schooner that's the smoked one. And I've got some barley as well, some roasted barley, so I'm going to try and use that as well. So what I need to do is create a recipe. So what I need to do is pick my bits. This is Brewfather. Brewfather is, of course, a recipe building program that I've been using. I don't know how good it is, but it seems to work all right. I use this one, but I don't use this one for the salts later. So what I'm going to do now is add my fermentables, which is the grains that will ferment down. Now, the first one I need to add is Maris Otter. Okay, Maris Otter. Maris Otter. I guess it's... I don't know if this is the one, but I've got a heap of Maris Otter and I've just got to choose one. Maybe I can use the finest Maris Otter. Castle, crisp, pale ale Maris Otter, extra pale, finest Maris Otter. We'll use that one. No idea if it's any better or different. I mean, I've got Maris Otter, but I don't know what brand it is. So we'll go on that anyway. It's Maris Otter. I don't care. I've got, 5 kilos of that I want to use. So I'll bring that to 5. Oop, what happened then? Oh, that works. Oh, yes, okay. Let's come up with... The colour is 9.7 EBC. The gravity original gravity is 4.090. Now I reckon after adding the rest of these grains, I'm going to end up with a high gravity, which I'm looking for. We need Atlas Latrobe. Atlas Latrobe. That's the craft malt that I've got sitting there. It's about a kilo of that, I believe. I've got a kilo of that sitting aside, so I'll use a kilo. Oop, too far. So yeah, it's a grain. EBC is 4. Now this is probably going to be a brown ale or a dark ale or something. I'm not sure yet. So that's 2 grains in there. Add another grain. I also have Vienna Schooner. Now Vienna Schooner is a red gum smoked grain, which is going to be very interesting. It's a craft malt by Voyager. Now these are mostly Voyager grains, so I'm using those because I got them from... Actually, I'll tell you the story. I went to Keg King, and Daniel promptly said, grab a few of these grains, have a taste. And I tasted them, and I thought, oh my God, they're good. They taste so nice. So I added those grains in my recipe here because just the flavouring and the smell, it was brilliant. Roasted barley. So I've got some roasted barley as well. So I'm only going to do 200 grams of roasted barley because that's all I've got, relatively anyway. Roasted. Birds. We'll go that one. And that was 200 grams. Oops. Save. So they're my grains. I've got that set up. Now I'm guessing this recipe. I'm just making sure that basically I use my grains up. And these are the ones I've tasted. So the Maris Otter is a very biscuity tasting grain. So I thought I'd use that because it's got a really good biscuity flavour. It's going to have that after old style flavour. The Atlas Voyager has a really malty flavour that I can tell, and it's really strong in that malt, so I'm hoping that will come through as a style, in a good style. And then there's, of course, the Schooner, the Voyager one, the Vienna Schooner Voyager is smoked. Now, I've never had a beer that had a smoked grain in it, so I'm really looking forward to trying that out. And the roasted barley to give it colour and a bit of bitterness as well, so that'll be nice. So the colour is going to be relatively dark. I'm also using Centennial hops. I'm doing that as a 60-minute boil. Centennial hop pellets. 2 packets actually. I'm doing one of those. So we need 2 whole pellet, whole cryo. No, we're not doing 2 packets. What am I talking about? They're pellets. It's not bloody yeast. Alpha type US amount. 46 grams, because that's all I've got. I'll weight it. There. That would give a little bit of bitterness, hopefully. Bittering, edit details, done. So that's that. So we've got our Centennial hops, 46 grams. Like I said, that's all I've got, so that's why I'm putting that in. The yeast I'm using is Mangrove Jack's M44. Mangrove Jack's West Coast, US West Coast yeast. If I put M44, would that work? Oh, look at that. It worked. I've got 2 packs of those. Amount, 2 pack. Unit, package, attenuation, ID, manufacture date there. Attenuates complex sugars, no. Oh, good to know. Special notes, done. So that's that. Yeast is done. The gravity is 0.063. The final gravity was 0.070. How about that? And that's given me a style here, showing me what style it's going to be. I guess when I look in here and look for the style, you look for this shade and go through it all. I guess this is just, you guys are going to definitely correct me on this one. I suppose if I go, I'll try maybe Old Ale. LMNO. Let's see if Old Ale works. Geez, a lot here. LMNO. Be curious. No. Old Ale there. I'm thinking it's an Old Ale, but no, I'm wrong. Old Ale. Look at that. Is that it? Okay. Final gravity. 10. That looks very close to it. 7.5. I'm guessing this is closest to the style. So I'll work off that. We work off the Old Ale. We'll select that one. Look at that change. Okay, so that works. Look at this. It's actually giving me everything it needs, and it's within that range. So I guess Old Ale is the thing, and we'll go from there. Now the final gravity we can change when it actually finishes its fermentation, and to go from there. So what I've done, sorry, I'm arcing on a bit, talking a bit, is created the recipe here, finding all the grains, because in Grainfather, where I'm going to actually transfer this to, that tends not to have the grains that I need to look for. So I do it in here to find the grains, then I transfer it over. So the water here needs to be, it's 5.66. It should be 5.4 or 5.3. But I haven't got my target profile in here, I think. Select. So yeah, I haven't set this up for my pH, so it should be, let's say 5.3, 5.4. On that one I can do in Grainfather. So I'll get out of that. Won't do that here. This is mostly done. So now all I have to do is export. I need to export it as a beer XML file. Just like that. Brewfather, no name, blah, blah, blah. Could keep. My God. What I need to do now is leave this section and go into Grainfather's recipe section. Now I'm in the Grainfather section. Sorry, my voice. I've got COVID at the moment, so I'm doing this at home just to lock myself away. I'm going to create a recipe. Find recipe, my recipes. I think my recipes. In here somewhere, I can do a recipe of my own. Find recipes, maybe. I go on there and then create it. New recipe. Here we go. Oop. So there's a recipe section. So you get to go and I can import the XML file that I just downloaded. Be Brewfather. Be in a downloads folder. Where's downloads? And that would be it there. Open it and see how we can convert it. Recipe imported. There you go. So Brewfather recipe, it says on there. That's a recipe colour of a beer, I suppose, is what it's going to be. We've got all our information all here. 0.065, final gravity 10.6. Now, that's not going to be correct, I reckon. Anyway, we'll look at this. So our Bluetooth controller, all grain metric, batch size 23 litres, boil time, losses, and mash efficiency. Marisota, so finest Marisota, Atlas, it's all in here, ready to go. So that's exactly right. There's the hops, my 2 packets of yeast, Mash steps. Now, mash steps. I'm going to do this mash step as a step mash. So bring it down to the first 10 minutes is going to be 62 degrees Celsius, just to soak it. Time 10 minutes. 9, 10. Add a mash step. Now I'm going to make that 65 for, how long am I going to do that for? 60 minutes? 65 degrees for 60 minutes, which will grab a lot of the base sugars that can be fermented easily. And that'll be 60 minutes. And then the last step will be 70. Actually, that'll be 70 minutes because 10 minutes plus 60 is 70. And then, I think that's how that works. All right, I have to interject here. Sorry, guys. On the Grainfather, it's not a accumulated amount of time. It's actually stepped. The time is stepped. It's 62 degrees Celsius at 10 minutes for rest, starting rest. And then 60 minutes at 65 degrees Celsius and 75 degrees at 15 minutes at the end. Just so you know. I'll fix it on the website now so we can get back into it. Cheers. Fermentation, it's going to be fermented at 18 degrees Celsius for as long as it takes. And then once it's got to about 14 days, I'm going to increase it to 20 degrees, which is what I'll do. These are my decisions. This is just to get it fermenting. It works really well when you do it like that. And that's all. Now I need a water calculator. So this is my water. This is all the stuff I've got. Fermentable, recipe style old ale. It says here, fermentables 4, added total of 7.2 kilos. Is acidulated. No, we don't have any acidulated grains in there. So we'll leave it at that. I need to select source target water profile. Target water, old ale, 5.4, source water, Traralgon water. I went onto Traralgon's website, grabbed their water profile and popped it in the system a while back, and I kept it and saved it. And that's why it gives me all the information I need to fix it. Use the calculate. This seems to really work well. And these are the salts that I need to do. Now, a lot of the time I don't have baking soda. So if I go calculate again, it calculates it without the baking soda. So see how, put in the baking soda, it says 00, calculate, and changes the other salts to suit so it actually works. Yeah, so it's basically, this mash has this amount of salt, the Sparge has this salt, and I found this has worked many times before and it works quite well. Acid type, I don't know much about this. It says lactic acid, no acid. That's all I know, and just make sure I don't have acid additions, and add that to the actual recipe. Done. So it's all here now. So you got your mash water, and Sparge water. And this is very important when you do your mashing. It helps. The more acidic in that area, the more it takes, more sugar it takes out and works well. So I'm still in the style comparison. It's still within that style comparison, so that's a good thing. So now all I have to do is add these grains to my recipe. Now all these parts here, I'm going to just wait until I've done it to fill these in so I know what's going on. And that should be, I'll call that experimental actually, for now, and I'll name it something later. Okay, so now I have my recipe. I need to go to my Grainfather and start adding those products into my Grainfather. Alright, so now it's time to do the mash. Basically, I'm just mixing the salts, getting the right measurements of each different salt, and adding that to the mash water as well as my Sparge water. Have a look at this. The basket I've got has the, I finally got the top and bottom plate from Grainfather, and it just drops in like a dream. Look at this. Look at that. How cool is this, eh? Alright, and thumbs up. I'm basically now throwing that in. It seems to float a little bit, I noticed, but that's alright. It goes straight in, no problem. Bang, done. Put a little plug in, and I'll start adding the grains that I ground down previously before I started this video. And they are done at about 1 millimeter thickness, so they're a bit fluffy, but they're alright. They smell really good. And I'll tell you what, the grains from the... Oop. The grains from the... There's a smoke smell. It comes right through beautifully. Oh, these are just, what are they? They're rice hulls. I'm a bit worried that the mash will have trouble clogging up as it runs, so I'll put some rice hulls in the mix through so that the rice hulls break up the grains so that we can actually allow the water to flow through the grains while it was mashing. Ugh. So I'm mixing it up really hard, just to get any kind of dough balls out and get the rice hulls through the grains as well, to make it nice and neat. what I'm doing here is I'm just quickly grabbing a sample. I know I'm actually cleaning the pipe out before I let it run, just to make sure there's no gunk in there. And that's just going to go out the back in the garden. Yeah, basically the pipe. I just wanted to run water through the pipe. Oh, look at that, the pH. The pH is 5.29, so 5.3. Bit low, not too bad. It seems to be fine. I'm not worried about it too much. So there you go. So that's the top plate, the new top plate by Grainfather. Not a bad little item. Seems to be okay. And I've also found that I've lost my little nub that sits on the top of this thing. I don't know where it is at all. So I'm going to have to just sit with that like that. And now I'm going to set it all up. So basically, take the flow arm or the arm, and I know what I did find out is this rubber or this silicone hose is pushing too hard on the plate, which is pushing it down onto the grains. So I decided to grab a new piece, a shorter piece, so it didn't push down so hard, to help flow the grain water through without pushing down on top of it and compacting it. So you'll see that. What I'm doing there is just washing the grains off the side so it all goes to the bottom. So here, this is where I changed the pipe. The pipe was pretty much getting in the way, and it was just pushing down on it. So I grabbed this shorter pipe and put that on instead of, which made a huge difference. Probably I think I should have done it even shorter, I think. But anyway, they're very, very stiff pipe. I might have to get something different later on. Bubble, bubble. And it worked a lot better. So there's a lot less kink, and it's going to flow heaps easier. I've noticed that some people who do this, they allow the drain plug to flow fluid through the centre of the drain plug all the time. I'm not sure if that's the best thing to do. I can't see a problem with it, because the fluid will still flow through the grains even when you do this. But will it? This is something I don't know. So I hadn't let it do that. I'm going to let it flow through like it normally should, and then let the water just pump through. What happened here was after that pipe, we pushed the top plate down and actually compacted the grain. So I just lifted them back up again, just to get them a bit more loose so the fluid could flow through better. So I left it for 10 minutes at 62 degrees Celsius, and then started the water flow and ran it for another 60 minutes at 65 degrees Celsius to get that real good rinse through. And after that, for another 15 minutes, I increased the temperature to 75 degrees Celsius to get it up to the temperature to start sparging, while it was still flowing through. So now it's finished doing that. I'm now going to have to start sparging. So that's the next job. So I'll pull the basket out. Quickly pull that basket out. Reef on it. So my back used to be really bad, but it seems to be alright nowadays. So I seem to be able to handle that easier. And I'll sparge it with whatever water it was meant to be. I think it's 10.1 litres of water or something like that. And that should bring it up to about 28 litres. So I should use around about 33 to 34 litres of water. The mash water was 23 litres, and the sparge water was about 11 litres. So we just basically mashed it out with that. It's at boiling point now, so I'm measuring out my hops. These hops are Centennial. They're 46 grams of Centennial hops. I actually added too much. You can see in the left-hand part of the window, the kettle is starting to boil. I'm just watching it in that window to make sure that we can keep an eye on it while I'm doing this. So what it is here, I grabbed a hop sock and threw it in that, and actually dropped it in 60 minutes before boil time. So now it's time to add the hops. Bang, in they go. Drink. And mix it through a little bit and let that just boil with the grains. And that's the only hop addition I did. All just for bittering. The rest of the flavour is from the grains only. So I'll let that boil for 60 minutes. And get it to about, I don't know, I think it ended up being around about 23 litres in the end. And after that, I quickly grabbed a gravity after finishing it off. So that was boiled down to a nice 23 litres. And basically now, here I am filling it up into my fermenter. grabbing a gravity reading as well while I'm waiting. The gravity reading ended up being really, really spot on. It was 1070 according to my tilt, which is another story. Yeah, it came out spot on. 1070 straight up. The gravity was perfect. So I quickly grabbed the yeast. It's a US West Coast ale yeast. I'm using 2 packets of 11 grams, and I'm just throwing them straight in. Done. Now they'll attenuate. They'll work for a very long time. They'll run. I mean, the brew's going to run. This is my... Oh, by the way, this is an Apollo fermenter too. Just so you know, it's got handles on it which are just absolutely awesome, which made this whole job much easier. And it was really good to do. So I'll give it a good old shake to get the oxygen through it. It's already in its jacket. There you go, it's all foamy and it's got a lot of oxygen through it, so that's enough. And because I found my tilt was actually tipped out in the garden. I actually did a fermenting job and tipped out my fermenter, and the tilt was in it. I didn't notice it, and then for ages I was looking for the tilt. So this is a spundy. Spundy is being used in most brewing now for pressure fermenting, only available from King, but I'm sure people will start inventing others. It is awesome. A little job, little bloke, works a treat. Very compact, you can put it anywhere. I mean, you don't need all those big blow ties and things like that anymore, so it's really, really good. I also place a temperature controller, so I can keep it at 18 degrees Celsius all the time. At the moment, as you can see, it's 19.7 degrees Celsius. And the tilt reads 1070, and that's awesome. It's spot on to what it's meant to be. All right, next part. I'm about to transfer my beer into a keg. I just want to quickly check on it. I've dropped the temperature down to 2 degrees Celsius for about 48 hours to try and cold crash it a little bit. And it's taken out a lot of the sediment. I hope that the outside doesn't look like the inside, so I'm hoping that will come out really nice. The pressure on the gauge there is 7 psi, 8 psi. Now that was at 15, so when I dropped the pressure, we've lost about 7 psi. And that's known. You just know to do that. You know that happens because that's what happens. Basically, when things get cold, CO2 drops in pressure. That's just a normal thing that happens, and it's just fine. You can do that. The problem is that if you're going to do a cold crash with no pressure in a sealed unit, and there's no pressure in it, you can get vacuum. It will actually suck it in and buckle it up. So make sure you have at least 10 pounds of pressure in your pressure fermenter before you go and cold crash in it, so it doesn't buckle up. Alright, I'm going to now get a keg and start thinking about transferring. Alright, so while that's transferring, I'll grab myself a sample, and there it is. So far it's pretty dark. It's not overly clear. I'm sure that will clear out over time. I mean, it is a cold mix, but it's got bits in it. I must have shook it up a little bit, so it doesn't, not too bad. It'll settle over time. Get you a sample. You can smell that wood, that burnt smoke smell. Quite different. It's not really, I mean, this has got to have time to age anyway, but concerning. As a beer, it's got a nice little head on it already. It's not overly carbonated yet. I still need to do that. But it's just straight out of the keg, out of the fermenter. So we're hoping that... Yes, I'm getting that dominant smoke smell. Bit of a biscuity wood smell again. It's very rustic smelling. Very, very different. Let me see how it tastes, shall we? Now, it fermented down to 10.15, which makes it 7.2% alcohol. Oh, it tastes like beer. I reckon use less smoky grains, but overall, that is actually really nice. I can't believe it. Okay, I haven't got a beery smell. It's really dominated by the smoke, but I would say 500 grams of that red gum smoked grains would be enough. But overall, all in all, it's got a nice little bitter flavour. Oh my god, I'm excited. I can't help it. It's really good. Oh my god. I reckon the carbonation's almost correct. Probably a little bit more. But having that smoke in it really sets it off as an original type beer. If you guys like rustic tasting beers, just try this recipe out. It's really good. I shock myself sometimes. That is really, really nice. It's not meant to be cloudy. It's meant to be clear, so I've got to give it more time. Just checking the keg out, just making sure it's okay. It's about 2/3 full, so... But that is so drinkable. It's unbelievable. Oh my god. I'm enjoying this one big time. I know it's a different video this time, guys. I did something differently because I'm a bit rushed for time, I suppose. But now I'm getting that burnt, the roasted barley coming through, just mildly. And it really sets off the smoke, the red gum smoke. Very Australian rustic beer. I'm going to have to call it something nice, and I'm really thinking that it's almost spot on. The right amount of grains, the right amount of everything is in that. I think I might leave it. I'm really enjoying that, just as it is. The smell does not denote the taste. Very tasty. I'm getting smoky aftertaste. Also, it's fairly smoky. Trust me, it's very smoky. It's almost a barbecue kind of beer. It's exceptional. Whoop. Sorry. My keg's ready to overflow. I think it's done. Okay, my keg's full. I'll quickly purge a little bit. Oh, you're still recording. Okay, I passed it around with my family and gave them a quick sip and tell me what they think. The first impression I got was it smells like and tastes a bit like olives. I get it. It does taste and smell a little bit like olives and beer, of course. And I'm getting an aftertaste, a biscuit aftertaste, or after smell as well. And that smoke. I think this can be put down to be a good rustic tasting beer. Its flavouring is old worldly. It's not bad. Give it a go, guys. Just do a half batch if you want. See what you think. Maybe use a bit less wood smoked grains. Okay, I'm really pleased with this one. I'm going to let it age for a month in my kegerator, tap her up and get it ready. I might gas it a little bit more. It needs a little bit more carbonation, but not a lot. The good thing about doing it in high pressure or pressure fermenting is it has carbonation built into it, so you use a lot less CO2 when you do it. Lately I've had leaks in my kegerator, so I'm really disappointed. I've been losing gas. I found the leaks. The gas lines were broken. They had a little, like a crack in them. They must have came over from fatigue. So I've had to repair that and get that all working properly. And now I've got a system that works really well. On conclusion, guys, this beer, as an experiment, taking the flavours that I feel I like and the smells, to me, is a great beer. Try it. Try the recipe. The recipe is down below. I left the recipe in the description, as well as a link to the Grainfather website for the recipe. It's fairly strong and a little bit bitter. Gives you a hit in the mouth. It's like it really is like going to an Aussie bushfire or sitting around having an Aussie barbecue and drinking or eating a barbecued sausage or something like that. The flavour, I would say a little bit too smoky. Might need a bit less red gum grains, maybe about 600 grams or so. But nevertheless, it's not a bad first time go. You don't hit it spot on, but the flavouring is just mesmerising. I think if the scent dies down a little bit and the smoke dies down a little bit, which it probably will over time, if I leave it kegged and let it age for a while, I think it will. And we should have a really good beer. Cheers, guys. I appreciate you watching this video. This was a bit different to what I'm used to doing, and I'm glad I did it. And we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys. And if you can remember, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Give me a like, because likes really work for my channel. And subscribe if you haven't. Cheers, guys. See you again.